So over the weekend, over the Easter holidays, Saturday night, I went out with some friends. Bearing in mind, I very rarely go out anymore, like in terms of going to like bars, nightclubs, raves, festivals. So started the night out at this ecstatic dance. Was there for maybe about 2 or 3 hours, and it was a lot of fun. It got me pumped. It got me in the mood to like go out and just enjoy the evening. The guys that I was with, they actually had tickets to go to this rave. Like, it was a house techno kind of rave. I hadn't actually been in an environment like that for at least 7 years, I would say. And I was a bit on the fence to start at the night. I was like, I'll see how I'm feeling. But yeah, just the whole night started so well, and I felt good from the dancing. I felt energized, and I wasn't ready to go home. So the guys that I was out with, they actually had some mushrooms, right? And when I say mushrooms, I'm talking about mushrooms that you take to hallucinate and trip. And I hadn't dabbled with mushrooms for at least like 1.5 years. Last time I actually took them was when I was in Indonesia back in 2024. Hadn't touched them for a while. So one of my friends, he actually like gave me like a half of his chocolate bar. Like, it wasn't a half, it was like 2 cubes, but it was enough. And I was so on the fence of going out at the start of the night, and we got into this to the venue where the event was being hosted, and I started to feel the mushrooms kicking in. I started to feel like I felt a buzz coming on, and I felt really good, and I started dancing, and I was really loving the music. And one of my friends actually came over to me and said, how does it feel to be back in an environment like this after like 8 years? And I said, it feels like home. It feels like home. And the reason being was because at one point in my life, that was part of my identity. I used to spend my weekends at nightclubs, at raves, at festivals, because that was my escape from my reality. Because back then, I didn't really have a vision for my future. I didn't know who I was. And I was at a point in my life, I was at a very low point in my life where I was depressed. I was working a job that made me miserable. I'd lost my father from a young age, so I was like in my sort of like late teens, early 20s. And going out into those kind of environments every weekend and seeing the same people, getting dressed up, wearing vintage clothing, and abusing substances, that was really how I validated myself back then. And one thing that I've learned over the last 10 years of doing personal development is, if you don't have a reason to be better, if you don't have a purpose, a vision for your future, or at least a goal that you're working towards, if you don't have ways to validate yourself through self-improvement, you will simply validate yourself and stimulate yourself through instant gratification. meaning you will find something to stimulate yourself with to escape what you're not feeling good about in your life. So whatever that could be for you, it could be alcohol. For me, it was drugs and partying. I was the guy that went to raves every weekend and got myself so mashed up, so fucked up to a point where I would pass out, and I was the guy that would end up in the medic room. I was the guy that would do the most drugs so that I could prove that I was the fucking man. That was how I validated myself. I was the ket monster. I was the guy that could take the most ketamine, the most amount of pills, and be able to go through the whole night till the morning and then to the after party. That was how I validated myself, because I didn't have anything else to validate myself with. I didn't have anything else better going for me in my life. And that's why so many people destroy themselves, because they never really find what really makes them want to be better. They never really... YouTube.
I've got a bigger can.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should connect then. What's going on, bro?
How are ya?
Yeah,
Follow his channel, top man.
Yeah.
Have a lovely
your name,
day.
bro? What's your name?
Johnny Hammers.
Johnny Hammers.
Johnny Hammers, yeah.
Johnny Hammers.
Have a good day,
I'll
yeah?
look you up, bro. Yeah, take care, yeah? Yeah, anyway. I lost myself now. Yeah, if you don't have a reason to be better, you'll always find ways to stimulate yourself through instant gratification. So it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be partying, it could be gambling, it could be sex. You'll find something else to be addicted to. But for me, once I found personal development, I found books like The Secret, books like Think and Grow Rich, mentors like Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins. I started getting into audios like The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And he talks about most people don't know where they're going in life. They just go with the flow. They're in a hypnotic rhythm. An individual that doesn't have a goal or doesn't have a vision for his future will take each day of life as it comes, and he'll never really live his life intentionally. He'll always be seeking pleasure. He'll always be seeking instant gratification. He'll always be trying to stimulate himself to feel better about his life. And that's exactly where I was. I didn't like my situation. I hated my job. I hated the people that I was around. So my weekends were really a way for me to escape my past, to escape my reality. But once I started to wake up and I started to realize that I'm responsible for my life and the quality of life that I'm living. And if I want to change that, I need to change me. I need to change my habits. So I stopped going out to nightclubs and parties and raves. I decided to cut it down, you know. I didn't stop it immediately, but I started finding things that I could really do to work on myself. I started going to the gym. I started getting in shape. I started getting into great books. I started taking courses, learning different skills, learning digital marketing, learning how to do content, learning how to invest, how to trade. And I started to make more money, and I started to see my life improve, you know. So I thought to myself, why would I go back to a life where I was trying to escape? Because that's literally what it was. It was escapism for me. It wasn't like I was just doing it because it was fun. I mean, yeah, for sure, I was having a lot of fun at the time doing it, but the root cause from it was pain. I wasn't just doing it to have fun. Like on the weekend just gone, like I ended up in a rave with some friends. It was something that I wanted to do. Like I've reached a point in my journey right now where I'm very content, I'm very fulfilled, I'm probably the happiest that I've ever been. I've achieved some great milestones in the last like 6 months, and you know, made some incredible progress. So I almost felt like I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to dabble and have a bit of fun, you know. And you know, I didn't get myself in a state like I used to back in the day. I took some mushrooms. I had a little buzz, a little trip. I wasn't hallucinating to a point where my body was out of control, but I felt good. You know, I was dancing and I was having great conversations with the people that I was with, and you know, I was actually with a group of people that I actually wanted to be with. You know, I wasn't just hanging with them because I wanted to have a group of people to be out with like I used to. I used to just go out with random people back in the day. Like the people I was out with this weekend, they're all from my yoga community. We're all like-minded. We're all growth-oriented. We all take care of ourselves. We're all working towards improving our lives, but we also, you know, have fun and, you know, go to parties sometimes, you know. I mean, this was actually the first time I'd actually gone out, you know, to a party in a kind of rave environment, you know, with the guys, and it was a lot of fun. And I'd happily do it again with them. But it was a great reminder for me of where I'd come from, you know, because I was in that nightclub on Saturday, man, and I was like, damn, like this used to be like just a regular thing for me. I'd be at a different rave or nightclub every weekend, and you know, just going back in there, hearing the music, and just that whole vibe was it was an interesting experience, man. But yeah, that's really it. Like, when you don't have a reason to be better, you're always going to find other ways to validate yourself, to make yourself feel better about what's missing in your life, what's lacking, you know. So if you're somebody that perhaps you're in that place where I was once, you are looking to escape what's causing you pain in your life. Perhaps it's, you know, your job. Perhaps you're getting up every single day, you're dragging yourself to a job in a place where you don't want to be, but you're doing it because you have to do it. Not because you want to do it, you're doing it because you have to do it. And that's what it was like for me. I was working probably about 10 to 12 hours a day doing manual labor, working, doing drainage, plumbing and drainage, and I absolutely hated it. And every single day I went to work scared that I was going to get fired. And bearing in mind, you know, I was literally setting myself up to be fired, because every single weekend I was going out and getting off my face and coming into work on a Monday, and I'd still be coming down. I'd still be like kind of off my face. You know, so that's why you've really got to get clear on how you want your life to look, right? Because I'd never really taken the time to really get clear on what I wanted for my future. I never took a pen and a notepad and asked myself, you know, what is it I really want? No one told me that I could choose my reality. It wasn't until I, you know, started getting into great books that I started hearing stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. People that came from the same place I did, or even worse, and was able to really make significant changes in their life. So once I started hearing stories like that, I thought, damn, well, I can actually change. I can actually change and rewire my brain and shape my reality. That blew my mind. But then I thought to myself, like, everything around us is an expression of an idea that was once formed in somebody else's mind, right? And I thought to myself, up until that point in life, what were the dominating thoughts in my mind? I was always thinking about lack. I was always thinking about poverty. I was always thinking about losing something. And that was why I was always trying to escape and go to clubs and raves and festivals and do a lot of drugs and alcohol and degenerate shit because I was afraid I was going to lose the little that I had in my life because I wasn't setting goals. I wasn't working on myself. I wasn't getting better. So therefore, that was why I eventually, lost my job. My boss fired me. He found out I was doing drugs. He found out I was just being a fucking degenerate piece of shit. And yeah, I'm glad he fired me. I'm actually glad that he fired me, because if he didn't, I might have still been in that job today. I might have progressed up in that industry and never really found my true calling, and that's unfortunately how most people, go through their life. People leave school, they might go to college, they might pick up a trade, they might, just fall into a job out of random application, and they end up working that job for 20, 30, maybe 40, maybe even 50 years, and they never really wanted to do what they were doing. They didn't choose that career, they just fell into it. And they thought, oh, I'm making some money now, I'm pretty comfortable, I don't like the job, but it's paying me, it's paying the bills. And that appears normal to most people. And that's how most people live their life. And they never really choose how they want to live their life or the career that they want to embark on or anything like that. So find what that is for you. If you're in a place in life right now where perhaps you're a little bit lost in the sauce and you don't really know where you see your future, take some time to get a pen and a notepad and just ask yourself, what is it you really want? How do you want to be living your life? Where do you want to be living? What kind of environment do you want to be in? What kind of people do you want to associate with? How much money do you want to earn? Once you decide how you want to live, and you get emotionally involved with that idea, you can now start to think of ideas of how you can bring that to life and how you can actually start to shift what you're doing right now. Because it starts with you changing your habits. That's what I had to do. I cut out the alcohol, the drugs, smoking, cigarettes. I occasionally smoke a bit of weed now from time to time, which I enjoy, in moderation. But I cut out all the substances that were dragging me down and slowing me down, essentially. Cut out all of that. And I started working on myself. I started going to the gym. I started to build an aesthetic physique. Started lifting weights, started doing body weight training, started running, started doing yoga, and it started making me feel better. And I started working on myself, started learning new skills. I started to feel better about me. I didn't want to go back to that old life. I didn't feel like I had something to escape because I felt good about me and where I was going. Instead of my Saturday nights being spent in nightclubs, my Saturday nights were spent either in the gym or at my desk learning a new skill or building my business, because I was hungry. And that's why a lot of people, when you get to that stage in your journey, a lot of people will tell you you're crazy. Oh, you're giving up your Saturday nights to spend time on your computer. It's like, yeah. I got goals to achieve. I'm not where I want to be right now. So I'm going to use the time that I have to make progress and get ahead. But a lot of people, unfortunately, aren't prepared to make that sacrifice. A lot of people would rather work their 9 to 5 and then waste their weekends doing fuck all that isn't getting them ahead, and then complain years later in life that they're not where they want to be. I didn't want to live my life like that. And I'm so fucking grateful that I found personal development. I found The Secret. I found books like Think and Grow Rich, Bob Proctor. That was a starting point for me. That was the introduction I needed to self-improvement. So find that for you. Find that for you. It's not going to be easy. It's hard, like shifting your identity, because what you've done for so long is ingrained into you, and you almost create this identity for yourself, not just for you, but for the people that know you. So when you start changing, the people you associate with are going to notice that change, and they're very likely going to try and pull you back, because they don't want to see you change. They don't want to see you become a new version of you, because they've now got to get to know a new version of you. And it's very uncomfortable for them, especially if they don't have any intention of wanting to change or improve the quality of their life. But there's going to come a point in your journey where when you do make change, it'll get lonely, and you just have to push through that and know that through that lonely part of your journey, you're going to start to make change. You're going to start to grow. You're going to start to attract different people into your circle. And that's really when life gets fun, because you'll be achieving your goals, making progress, getting better. And when you do go and have fun and you do go and enjoy yourself, it will be earned. It will be earned. And you'll go to a club or a festival or an event or whatever. For me, I like to go to a lot of like wellness and fitness events now. Going to an event this year called Wellnergy, and I can't fucking wait. A whole wellness festival with a group of people, with all my friends and the people that I have a lot of respect for, and we're all going to be there having fun and doing something constructive, but also having fun as well. That's really what it's about. So, hope that this message brought you value. I know I rambled a little bit and I might have gone a little bit off topic here and there, but this is a topic that really means a lot to me, and I really feel it's an important message to share. So hope you got value from it, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video. If you got value from this video and you enjoyed what I shared today, or you're getting a lot of value from any of the videos that I've posted in this channel, I am still relatively new on my journey as a content creator on YouTube. So yeah, if you could drop us a like and a subscribe, I would massively appreciate it. Helps the channel grow, helps me get my message out there to the world, to more people. So I'd really appreciate it. Have a fantastic day.